I really don't want anything submitted online, other than the dummy assignment. Now, I recognize that sometimes it's gonna happen. Maybe you've got a special situation where you need to, in which case talk to me about that. But I hate grading stuff online. That's what it comes down to. So, but if you do submit it online through Blackboard, don't email me your assignment unless you want me to look at something, not grade it, but hey, I'm not quite sure what I've done wrong here. Could you take a look? I'm fine with that. But if you do it, there is a naming convention. So in the syllabus, and I'm sure you can all see the details because you're all younger and have much better eyesight than I've got. There is a naming convention. Please make sure you know the naming convention. Now, none of you have done this to annoy me, but I've had way too many classes where people never figure out. Matter of fact, sometimes I will get JPEG files with a long string of random characters because, so one, it's putting the burden on me to figure out, to put a name on it. I go with the order in which it's presented. So if it's a lab and it's presented out of order, that's not on me. But I started docking for people who couldn't follow the naming convention. The key thing there, your last name, then your first name, underscore, the assignment, with enough detail. If you just say lab number 3, now you put the burden back on me to try to figure out what the third lab was. Now, since none of you in here have had me before, in terms of grades, I am not particularly good about putting grades on Blackboard. I will hand assignments back to you, the grade will be at the top, especially 252, you might be able to figure out your own grade. But let's say that you are not sure, just ask me. You can send me an email, you can ask me after class. If you ask me during class, I probably will not know off the top of my head. Or if I do, that means you're doing incredibly well or incredibly badly. So, but odds are I will not remember what your grade is off the top of my head. So, just ask. All right, but in the syllabus, the naming convention, if you have to, but preferably everything's on paper. We will kill those trees before I'm gone. Any questions?
Could you go over how you grade stuff? Because I was reading that in the syllabus and it was kind of confusing.
Can't believe you didn't understand that. You're talking about the final grade, not the individual grades.
Yeah, I don't know, the one where you were talking about all the averages and.
Okay,
times
that's the
this.
final grade. All right.
Okay.
Let me get out of this. Don't want this anymore.
I particularly didn't understand what middle average meant.
So if I hold that down. Surely there's a way of turning that thing off. Oh,
There should be like a sleep button, not turn off.
oh, AV mute, there we go, that'll work. Oh, wait. Okay. So when it comes time to figuring out the final grade, there's basically 3 types of grades. There's a quiz average, there's a test average, and there's a lab average. Everything is going to fall into one of those 3 categories. So actual quizzes are obviously in the quiz grade. Master sets, which if you're not familiar with, you will be, will fall into quiz. 2 class participation grades will be quiz. Tests are tests. Labs are labs. So let's say that your quiz average is 2.3, your test average is 3.7, and your lab average is 1.4.
This is out of a 4-point.
Out of a 4-point scale. Or out of 100, the average would still be the same, just the meaning would be different. So the first thing I do is define your final grade average. I take the 3 numbers there, test count twice, and then among these, I take the middle one. 2.3 is in the middle, so I average that one in also, and so I average those numbers up. So test will either be 40 or 60% of your grade, labs will be 20 or 40%, quizzes will be 20 or 40%, it all depends on what that middle one is. This has evolved over the years. It used to be much more cut and dry, and somebody commented years ago, they said, considering the amount of work I put into labs, it doesn't really seem like they're worth enough to make it worth my effort. And I thought, well, that's actually fair enough. And so I changed it to something a little bit more flexible where labs have more of an average, more of an impact. Now, my original idea was to take just the bottom two numbers and average those, and that would be your grade. And I basically talked to a couple people about it, and universally, I was the only one who liked it. Everyone else hated it. So, this is what I came up with.
You don't drop grades or anything, there's no weight on anything.
I have in the past, and it has never made a lick of difference. So, because ultimately, if your final average is, so officially an A would be 3.5 and up. Let's say you have a 3.49. That's like deja vu, I think. So you get a 3.49. Now it comes down to, officially, yeah, it's a B, but that's a pretty darn high B. Is that, how different is that from a 3.5? Well, in reality, if you've really pissed me off, I'm not gonna round up. I've had, I think, only 2 students out of the hundreds that I've had here that I would not have rounded up for that. So, I think that in the orientation videos, I talk about the person who asked the lawyer question. I think it's in one of my orientation videos. Anybody watch the videos?
Actually, I did watch those too, like where you were talking about students that piss you off and then how you piss off students, like.
Yeah, okay, okay. Yeah, so the guy who asked the lawyer question, if I went into detail there, and I need an A, what's my grade? Was the only thing that student ever said. Yeah, that did me off too. So, other than that, I'm gonna, yeah, close enough. Every grading system is flawed. I have heard some go, well, they got an 89.5, it's not a 90, so that's a B. Really? So, you know, the difference between a 3.49 and a 3.5 could quite possibly be my mood when I graded your paper. So there's some flexibility there. So 3.4, yeah, it's probably close enough, not necessarily. It gets kind of, we start hitting a gray area. So that's why dropping the A grade does not have much of an impact, because there's the fuzziness of that. I've had students in the past say that the way I do it is confusing, but the only student who said it was unfair wanted me to use a system that would penalize them. So, if you want me to go by the 10-point scale that the school uses, just let me know in front of witnesses, and I will grade you based on that. I will tell you, it is not to your benefit. All right. Have I answered your question? Other questions? All right, you know what time it is, dude? Try that one again. You know what it's time to do?
Test.
Pre-course assessment.
Okay.
Woo! Please
Do
do.
you grade this one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're used to the fill-in bubbles?
Well, Ms. Hoffman didn't grade the first one, she graded the last.
Oh, I will mark it. I will see what you know and don't know. This is not going to impact your final.
Okay.
Please do not write on this. Please have a separate sheet of paper. If you are missing paper, apparently we have some right here.
I was wondering, I looked at my grade on grade day, and it said like F, and like everything's zeros.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah,
here.
like all the due dates were like 23, 24.
Oh, I guess I haven't updated those.
Yeah.
So why are you handing stuff in late? Yeah, all right. So in terms of that, what is in Blackboard is not as important as what is on my own personal spreadsheet. So, also, there's, the way Blackboard works is, let's say your maximum grade is out of 4, and you got a C on it, which would be a 2.0. I put 2 down. Blackboard's gonna go, oh, 2 out of 4, that's 50%, you failed it, and so it's gonna mark it in red. Yeah, they're just messing with your heads.
Don't like a blackboard for the grades?
You can, once I put grades in.
Okay.
But at this point, I haven't put any grades in. The
Right.
zeros and the Fs or whatever you have there are meaningless. I just need to go in and change the dates. There's a lot of tedious stuff that needs to be done before courses start, and there's gonna be something that I forgot. Apparently, a big chunk of things that I forgot.
Yeah.
All right, when you are done, just bring it on up. Again, please do not write on these. If there are marks on it, please do not take it to mean that something is correct or incorrect. And then just let me know when you hand it back in. And Ms. Sawson said that you were a good group and she missed not teaching you this semester. I'm prepared to get that.
That piece of paper. This one. Different size. Together.
And 3 of you have alibis. You 3 are on camera. What is electric charge? Agreeing?
It is the way in which a way in which a particle is going to behave. Kind
Are you
of.
stopping there?
Yeah.
We need more if you want to go down that line. You just took an assessment that all dealt with, basically that's at the heart of it all.
There's positive, negative, neutral.
Okay, so I guess the sub-question is, what do we know about electric charge? So all right, so we'll get back to that one. So what do we know? What do we know? All right, so there's positive, negative, and 0, neutral. All right, what else do we know? Okay, those are 3 particles there. The electrons are,
Negative.
so we got negative electrons, protons,
Positive.
and there are a lot of other particles besides those 3. What else do you know? All right, my hearing sucks. On January 20th, I get to go for consultation on a hearing aid. So by the end of the month, I might be able to hear you. But now, so, Valeria?
So the measurement picture.
Okay. There's something else that I'm sure you know, but I don't want to give you the hint yet.
You have amps and volts.
Say it again?
Amps and volts current.
Okay. That does relate to it. Current would be something that occurs if a charge is moving. And then there's another type of current, which we'll get to about halfway through. All right. Opposites?
That's right.
Yeah. So that's something else that presumably you know is that if you have opposite charges, attract,
Negative.
is this all you know about electric charge?
A little bit more.
Oh, what's a little bit more?
Depending on the way the electric charge is moving, you can pinpoint, and then given like what the direction of the force is, you can find out the direction of the magnetic field.
Okay.
I remember that.
Alright, so I guess combining earlier is that, if V charge is not zero, then there exists current. If there exists current, then there exists magnetic field. Alright. Some shorthand notation, because, frankly, physics and math, we don't really want to write a lot of words. So as much symbolic language as we can. I for current, B for magnetic field, as you would expect. I think the B actually comes from the person who started that. The first vector he used A, the second one used B, the next one used C, and so on, and the D stuff. Yeah, I'm not gonna get into there's some other nuances in there, which we will save for later. All right, so we're still back to, so we know these things about electric charge, but we still haven't gotten into what is electric charge.
I don't think you can really define it. Because it's, in my, like, I'm pretty sure that if we were to define it, we can get close, but there's no like, okay, this is the definition of electric charge, and that's just accepted.
I'll buy that. Because my general response is, what's an electric charge? There's this property that things have, of which it does come in 3 different types, and it appears that for 2 of them, if they are the same, there's a repulsion. If they are different, there's an attraction, and then there's this other one which either doesn't care, or it might attract or might repel. We'll get into that aspect later. There are other particles, but it does seem to be this property that we've sort of labeled here. There's a book that I'm slowly working my way through called Electrons Don't Exist. And it basically is the idea they keep pushing forward is that there's this property that we're trying to label, and we come up with these things like electrons or protons or neutrons, which seem to fit, but we don't know for sure actually any of this exists. But it does seem to work so far. It is possible that everything that you have learned in 251 and everything that you'll learn in 252 is complete nonsense. However,
That's probable.
we have put a man on the moon. I believe there's something into the physics that we are discussing, and I will continue to push that. But it's also possible that there's going to be another revolution in physics, and they're going to say, oh, there's a much easier way of doing this.
It's at least a good approximation.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so electric charge, who knows? But we're going to use it as if it is a thing that does exist, and it is either going to be positive, negative, or 0. All right, electricity, the other major deaf word that gets bandied about. What is electricity?
Current.
What's it? I would say no.
It's energy over time.
Say it again.
Energy over time.
That would be power. Well, it's all the context, but
Does it have to do with electric force?
I think there's a cause and effect issue there.
It is a physical phenomena that ends up, affecting how different things, like behave, in a sense. Like it either charges things positively, it affects them negatively, but it is a physical phenomena that we study.
Yeah, I'll buy that. All right, so. Only one of you had me for mechanics, but the term gravity, if someone asks you what is gravity, how would you define gravity?
Attraction.
Pardon?
The attraction of mass.
That's the force due to gravity. What is gravity? And,
Force
yes.
acting down.
Pardon?
Force acting down.
Force act, that still is a force.
Is it forces between 2 masses that attract each other?
That's still a force. how is that different from acceleration due to gravity, or the gravitational constant, or the warping of space and time because of gravity, because of mass? What I'm getting towards is gravity is a huge topic. Those are the hand gestures in the back that probably only Brian saw. Gravity is a huge topic of which we study tiny little bits of it. The electricity, huge topic of which we will study tiny little bits of it. So, and the other thing that, chocolate scars, I blame chocolate scars on pretty much all my idiosyncrasies. Amperage, not a word. I will not accept it as a word. The word is current. No one has violated that yet, but just in case you were thinking about it, or you hang out with the wrong crowd, a bunch of electricians or something like that, the word is current. And on that lovely note, I think our time is up. As soon as that clock is still holding time, and I think it is.
Feels like we haven't defined either.
That is correct.
Okay.
The electricity is a huge topic in which we will study tiny parts of it. And electric charge is something that we will pretend exists, but really we don't 100% know it is.
Are those like the main two topics we're gonna focus on?
Yeah, electromagnetism, of course, is basically electromagnetism. So we'll concentrate on the non-magnetic part of it for the first two tests, in essence. And then magnetism will pop its ugly head into it. And then we will do electromagnetism. And then, at that point, if your minds are not fried, we will do special relativity. If there's time. Special relativity does a number of people's heads in. I had more than the one who said, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. No. So, and then quantum mechanics, at that point, it's, yeah, sure. Yeah, I can walk through a wall, okay.
Remember to pause the video? I mean, it's just rolling.
Yeah, that's fine.